Hey everyone, this is Brittany Hamilton, the 4-H educator for Weston County, and I thought I would try to help you guys by doing a short video on how to do section 1 of the 4-H record books. So the first place I'm going to start is my emails. Krista sent out an email with our fillable portfolios in Adobe PDFs. So go ahead and go to your email and search for Weston County at our email address here. And I click on that email, and this is what you should see. There are two versions, one's for seniors and intermediates, and one is for juniors. I'm going to go ahead and open the juniors. I double-clicked on that. Voila! And just a quick note, when you guys click on that, it's going to say, get Adobe Reader now. You're going to need a version of Adobe that's Acrobat X or Reader X or later versions of it in order to have the easiest going experience with these portfolios. So I highly recommend, it says get Adobe Reader now. It's free, it's reputable, it won't hurt your computer to my knowledge. So go ahead and download that if you haven't. That's the first thing I would do. So now we have the cover page for our portfolios. So, and it should be easy fill out. So I'm going to go ahead and start. It's 2019 and your member's name. My name's Brittany Hamilton. 4-H age is going to be 27. I know I'm an old 4-H'er, and the club would be your 4-H club. So Elk Mountain Outlaws will be my example. And down here on the cover page, you're going to want to list your projects. So let's pretend I took sheep, and let's do a static and do visual arts. And let's say I did fashion and fabric as well. So, and this judged option here is just asking, like, do you want them judged? All record books that are turned in are going to be scored, not necessarily judged. So I'm going to go ahead and click in there and say yes on all of those. I want them all scored. I want feedback on all of those projects that I complete. Keep in mind on this cover page, there's also a recommendations section that explains that you want to save each section to your computer. You can actually, since this is all in one portfolio now, save it as one huge portfolio. It says use a 3-ring binder for display. New pages each year for the cover page in sections 1, 6, and 7. That means that sections 1, 6, and 7 change depending on the project that you are doing. And then add the information to the cumulative sections. That means that these sections don't really change. You can do them once for the year and be done, but you'll want to add each new year as it comes along. So there, I have done the cover page, and I'm going to go ahead and go up here and save file, save portfolio. And just hit OK if this message pops up. You're just going to want to save a copy of it. And I'm going to save it in my Achievement Day file. And I'm going to say my 2019 4-H portfolio. And I'm going to save that right away so that I don't lose the work that I've already done. So that's the cover page, and that's the easiest part first. So let's go ahead and go into section 1. Section 1 for you guys will change for each project that you did. So I'm going to do a section 1 for sheep, a section 1 for visual arts, and a section 1 for fashion and fabric. So let's go ahead and start filling that out. Our year is 2019. My first project I'm going to do is sheep. My name's Brittany. Number of years in project, I'm going to say this is my 3rd year. My age. Learning goals for this year. So what did you guys want to learn about? What do you want to do better? I would recommend using complete sentences when you fill out this section. The learning goals for this year could be something like, I really want to be able to shear my lamb completely by myself here. I want to learn how to use the clippers better. That might be an example of a learning goal. It can be something you want to do better in. It can be something you want to learn about. But remember that goals are usually specific and they're measurable, and they have a time stamp on them, just something that's attainable for you. I want to place in the top 5 of my market class at the county fair. Voila, those are just your learning goals for this specific project, my sheep project, for this year. The project plan is kind of how are you going to accomplish these 2 goals that you wrote down? What is your plan? What are you going to do? And so here is where you want to write a short description of how you're going to accomplish those goals. So I might say for my first goal, I plan to practice shearing with my clippers by myself more. Mom might help me at first or with harder parts, but I will practice by shearing my lamb more than once. I might read instructions and guidelines or find videos online to help. And then don't forget to address your second goal. How are you going to place in the top 5 of your market class at county fair? So market is a little more work on the feed and exercise stage. So let's talk about, I am going to research feed options for my lamb and feed her the best feed to give her muscling and nutrients she will need. I plan to exercise my lamb every day and practice bracing. So those are just some beginnings to what your project plan could be. And who are you going to ask for help? This can be, I will ask my mom, project leader. And this section could be a neighbor, it can be an older member, it can be anyone that you think can help you better your project in sheep or whatever your project is. Down here it asks, what materials and equipment supplies do you have to start your project this year? List them. So what's the equipment that you had on hand? I'm going to say I had a halter. Where did I get it from? I'm going to say that I got it from my older brother. How much money is it worth? This is a really good exercise to help your child understand how much it costs to get into these projects, or even if you have it on hand, you're going to want to know how much it's worth so that they can understand that, wow, I didn't have to buy these things. And I think assigning a worth to it helps them appreciate those pieces of equipment more. I'm going to say my halter is worth $13. I'm also going to say that I had a feed trough on hand that I got from my parents as gift, and I'm going to say that it's probably worth $20. And I would research these items if you're not quite sure, and then if you just hit enter, not enter, but if you add these plus or minuses here, you can add as many things that you have on hand as possible. And I think that's helpful. And this is all stuff that can be done before your projects end at the end of the year. This is all things that you could do at the beginning of the year before you even have your animal, if you wanted to. Your project summary you're going to do after you complete your project. Who was your project leader? Oops, sorry. I'm going to go ahead and take some of this away so that I can click on here. So project summary. Sorry, this is not working very well. Okay, who was your project leader adult? You could say my project leader was my mother or mom. Or whoever you asked for help up here in this other section. How many project meetings did you go to? That could be how many times you practiced. That could be a show that you went to or a clinic like the 307 Livestock Clinic. I would go ahead and count those as your project meetings since we don't really have a project club for sheep and some other projects that we have in this county. You could do how many sessions it took you to complete a project, like your visual arts. How many practices did it take you to be able to complete that project? So I'm going to say I practiced, actually I'm just going to say 5. So I practiced 5 times. And it says, what workshops, clinics, jackpot shows, or other activities did you attend to learn for your project? This is where you would list the 307 Livestock Clinic, the Grand Slam Jackpot is where I went and learned about how to show my lamb better. Moving on to the second page, what did you make or raise this year? This is where with livestock, you're probably going to just want to list your market lamb. In description, you can put the breed and the sex if you want. So like Suffolk Weather. And then purchases and expenses. In this section, what did you purchase this year? List them. Go ahead. This is anything that you bought. This includes feed for your animal, equipment that you needed to show, or the animal itself. So this would be a good place to put your market lamb. Where did you get it from? I got it from Black's Show Pigs by Gillette, for example. How much did it cost? I'm going to say this lamb cost me $200. And then this is everything that I'm going to include for what I bought for my project. This can include anything little or big. So I'm going to say feed, and I'm going to do a lump sum, and I'm going to say I got it from Roundup, and say that I spent $500 on feed for that year. And then say I needed some Woolite shampoo. Actually, it would be detergent. And I got it from Walmart, and it cost, let's say, probably $15. Oops, not $1,500, $15. So this is any expenses that you would have. You would just list them right here. And then income. Did you sell your animal equipment or supplies? I'm going to say yes, I sold my market lamb. And I'm going to go ahead and put it down here, market lamb. Who bought it? I'm going to say that Frontier Home Ranch and Hardware bought my lamb. For how much money? We had an awesome sale this year, so I'm going to say my lamb went for $2,000. So that's important with the income. And then if you guys want to take it a step further and understand if you made money, broke even, or lost money, you just take your expenses and subtract it from your income. If you would like to do that extra step, I think it's helpful in understanding how much these animals cost and how fortunate we are to sell them in our livestock sale. And another thing you can do is look at the market price for that day for market lambs and see how much more money you made versus what you would have made at market. That's always a fun exercise to see how generous our community really is. So down here in our project summary, we're also going to do what did you learn? And that would be just simply answering these questions. Again, try to use full sentences and elaborate a little. The more detail that you give in your record books now, the better you will remember later. So what is something new you learned to do or learned about? I could say I learned how to block and fit a market lamb's leg. That could be something that I learned this year, and you can elaborate more. So some other things I learned included how to ration a market lamb and do more with rate of gain per day. That could be an example. How will you apply or use what you've learned? So with your market lamb, how are you going to apply what you've learned here? So how will you apply? With my other market animals and future lambs, I can apply what I learned about feeds and rationing to better feed them out to a desirable market weight. And then it says down here, look back at your goals, then explain how you did toward accomplishing them. So, how did I do with accomplishing my goals back here on page 1? I really want to be able to shear my lamb completely by myself. I want to learn how to use the clippers better, and I want to place in the top 5. So, here's where you reassess, did I accomplish my goals? And if I did, how did I do that? So here is where I would say I did accomplish or did not accomplish my goal. So I would say I did accomplish my goal of shearing my lamb completely by myself. I did this by practicing holding the clippers longer, having my mom help less, and by shearing my lamb more than once. I also found that if I sheared part of the lamb one day, I could finish the next day if I got too tired. That's just an example. You could also say I did not accomplish my goal of placing in the top 5 in my market class. Even though I learned a lot about feeding and rationing feeds to help my lamb gain muscle and wait, she still did not place in the top 5. I think I could do better next time by, so see how I'm elaborating just a little bit and giving more than what it asks for? That's always a good thing. To elaborate a little bit on if you didn't accomplish your goal, what can you do to make it better next time so that you do accomplish your goal? So those are just some examples about this part of this section 1. Exhibit summary. This is where you're going to want to share where you showed this project. So I'm going to go ahead and say in 2019, in August, what did you share or show? I'm going to go ahead and say I showed market lamb at Weston, oops, showed market lamb. Where? Weston County Fair. Placing if applicable. You may not have placed, and if you didn't, just put NA. But if you did place, go ahead and say 5th. If you placed 5th in market, you're also going to want to, if you placed in showmanship, list that separately. So say showed market lamb, same thing, Weston County Fair. I'm going to say I got 1st in showmanship. And I'm going to add, this is where you're going to want to put all the placings and everywhere that you showed your animal. You could add the jackpot if you showed at a jackpot, go ahead and add that. Or maybe if you went to State Fair, go ahead and add that too. Or if you went to the Nile. So I would say July, I showed in jackpot, showed market lamb in jackpot. I would say that it was at the Grand Slam in Newcastle, Wyoming. And I'm going to say that I got 3rd in class. So those are just some examples. I would also put them in order. So I would actually put July before August. So I might actually have to start over here and actually, so you're going to want to go in order from the earliest date to the latest date. So you would put July before August, etc. So, and that should actually complete section 1 for my market lamb. So I'm actually, to save section 1, since you're going to have multiple section 1s for your different projects, I'm going to show you how to save it just a little bit differently. Go ahead and go to File and go down and extract file from portfolio. And then it will pull section 1 away from your whole file. And I would save it as section 1 sheep 2019, just to keep it separate and so that I know exactly what this section 1 is. And then I would save it. And then I would go ahead and refill it out for my next project, which was visual arts. So I'm going to go ahead and change everything to fit visual arts. So instead of sheep, I'll go visual arts. And go ahead and just change your goals and delete maybe everything that you filled out. You can also save a blank one of these that you don't have to erase anything in if you don't want. So with visual arts, I'm going to say this was my first year. My learning goals could be something like, I want to learn the basics of watercolor and some beginner techniques. I want to know about shading and color. Sorry, I don't know a lot about watercolors. Shading and color combinations. And your goal could be as simple as that, or it could be more complicated based on the year that you might be in that project. So this is my first year, so I want to have at least one complete painting done for the Weston County Fair. Very, very simple and straight to the point goal. And for my what's your plan to accomplish your goals? So this would be tailored to your visual arts. How are you going to do that? I could say, I am going to take a class with Mrs. Josephson on watercolors in school. I will purchase the supplies needed to do this project, and I will practice at home after lessons. These lessons will go for a semester. And with the second goal, you could say, I want to have at least one complete painting done for the Weston County Fair. As I learn about watercolor painting, I will try to make projects as I go, or plan to make, or plan for my project for fair. I will choose a project by July 1st, and I will work on it at least twice a week to complete it by fair. I may even be able to work on it in class. Just a little plan on how you're going to accomplish these goals. And who are you going to ask for help? I will ask my art teacher, Mrs. Josephson, for help. And then this is where you're going to want to say, do you have any equipment on hand? Say I'm brand new to this project. I'm going to say that I have no equipment on hand. And that's okay. Everybody begins somewhere. So this is again where you're going to want to, this is before you start your project generally, and then this happens afterwards. So who is your project leader? My project leader was Mrs. Josephson. How many meetings did you go to? So how many times did I have her for class, or how many times did I meet with her to work on my project? I'm going to say 12. I went to 12 times. This is what workshops, clinics, jackpots, shows, or other activities did you attend to learn for your project. This could be an art, say you took it to an art show or competition. This is where you would want to put that. So I'm going to say art show at Gillette High School, for example. Okay, moving on to the second page. What did you make or raise this year? This is where you're going to want to put your project description. So I'm going to say a watercolor painting. And the description, I'm going to say that it was water lilies under a bridge at sunset. Purchase and expense. So what materials and equipment did you purchase this year? Go ahead and list them. Just like with the sheep, you're going to want to put any equipment, any paints, any brushes, any canvases, any classes that you bought. So any expense that you had, I'm going to go ahead and say paint brushes. I got them from Frontier. How much money did they cost? So I'm going to say $12. And I'm going to add watercolor palette of paints, just paints. And I bought those from an art store in Rapid, and I would put the name of the store. So say it was called Simply Creative. And I'm going to say that those cost probably, we're saying $50. They were kind of expensive paints. And then if I had to pay for the class, I would say classes. Mrs. Josephson at high school. And say I paid a grand total of $100. Again, just put your expenses here. And then did you sell your animal equipment or supplies? I probably am not going to sell my awesome watercolor painting. So I'm going to go ahead and say no. Actually, I'm going to delete this first if it will let me. Here we go. There. And you could say right down here, I did not sell my painting. But if you did after fair, go ahead and put it in here and how much money you got for it. And then again down here with what did you learn, that is what you're going to fill this in specific to your visual arts project. And the summary on where you showed it include art shows, class art show, the Weston County Fair, the Wyoming State Fair, anything like that. So that's just 2 examples of how you can do section 1. Remember, section 1 is going to be different for each project that you complete. And that is where we are going to stop today.